Hey Krishna, sorry so much. Sorry for the delay. It took some time for me to figure out the password and other things. So we'll soon get started. Um, Hey Krishna, sorry so much. Sorry.
Hare Krishna Mataji, we are not able to hear you for some reason.
Yes, Prabhu, just 1 second. I'll get the chant.
Yeah, we are good now.
Okay, I think we're good now. Thank you all so much for patiently waiting. We'll get started. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरम् नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवसादि गौरभक्तवृन्दा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं वाल्मीकिर्मुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः शृण्वन् रामकथानादं कोनयाति परं गतिं वेदवेद्ये परेपुंसे जाति दशरथात्मजे वेदप्राचीत् सादासीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम् मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि आञ्जनेयमदिपाटनालनं काञ्चनाद्रिकमनीयविग्रहं पारिजाततरुमूलवासिनं भावयामि पवमाननन्दनम् यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं भाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् जयत्राशतसन्त्रासध्वान्तविध्वांसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योमभास्करः श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं श्रीराम नाम वरानने Hare Krishna. So we are in Yuddha Kanda of the Valmiki Ramayana. And so far we have seen the theme of Yuddha Kanda is that the Lord takes multiple efforts to retrieve the jivas. That is the theme of the entire Yuddha Kanda. So it begins with the glorification of Hanuman. Ram is very pleased that Hanuman saw Sita and he gives his divine embrace. And Sugriv reassures Ram that we can cross the ocean and we will go to Lanka to see Sita. So the Vanaras march forward and they reach the shore of the ocean. Back in Lanka, the situation is very, very tense because Ravan just saw that a mere Vanara entered Lanka and burned down Lanka. So Ravan, he speaks to his ministers and asks for suggestions. And all the so-called followers of Ravan, they glorify him in various ways. Whereas Vibhishan gives appropriate advice. He tells that you should give back Sita. That day Kumbhakarna was also awake. He also came and gave the same advice, but he told Ravan, whether you listen to me or not, that is different. I will always support you simply because you are my brother. Ravan also revealed his mind to Mahaparshva and spoke about his past, that he had multiple curses. And again, Vibhishan, he makes a plea telling that give back Sita. I don't think you should be fighting this battle. And when he was talking in the Indrajit, who was the son of Ravan, he interjected and he insults his uncle. So ultimately, Vibhishan feels very hurt and he decides to leave. And he rises up into the sky and he goes to the other side of the ocean and he surrenders unto Lord Ramachandra. So the Vanaras initially they were hesitant to accept Vibhishan on their side, but then when Ramchandra speaks the very famous Ramacharama shloka, Sakradeva Prapannaya Tavasmi iti chayachate abhyam sarvada tasmai dadami tadvratam mama. So when he says this very famous verse, the Vanaras they are awestruck and they understand the glories of Lord Ramachandra. Vibhishan is accepted. Lakshman is asked to perform the coronation ceremony of Vibhishan even before they crossed Lanka and fought the war. Now, to cross the ocean had to comply, the ocean had to give way. So Ramchandra asks Vibhishan, what should I do? And according to the suggestion of Vibhishan, Ram decides to surrender unto the ocean personified. But then that surrender was a great failure. Meanwhile, different spies are sent by Ravan. One of the spy was Shuka, and Shuka is captured by the Vanaras and he is tortured. And then Ramachandra, he asks them not to torture that particular Shuka. And right after that, he also sends two other messengers. But before that, we see the bridge construction. How Ramachandra constructed a very, very beautiful bridge along with Nala, who's the son of Vishwakarma, who's the architect. So they build the bridge in a short span of time in 5 days, and they are ready to cross over the ocean. And we saw many little stories that happened during the crossing of the ocean and the construction of the bridge. So once they came to the other side of the ocean, when they reached Lanka, Ramachandra asked the army to start assembling in the Garuda Vyuha formation. That is when they decide to release this messenger Shuka. And Shuka, he goes and he gives a detailed report to Ravan. And Ravan is very, very upset and he calls Shardula and another Shuka. And he said that you should go, sorry, Shuka and Sharana, sorry, you go and find out more information. But then Shuka and Sharana again they are caught. And but however, Ramchandra tells that if they want information, give them all the information. And they receive all the information. They glorify Ram and go and tell Ravan. And Ravan is very furious. And he tells them, just go away from here. I don't want to see your faces. Then next he sends Sharana along with several other spies, and they also try to go and find out more information. And they get caught by Vibhishan, and then Ramchandra again tells, "Okay, spare them, let them go." And then he goes and he gives detailed information about Ram's army. So that's what finally Shardula and the other spies tell. Now, Ravan is very furious because he always hears glorification of Ram from everybody, including his spies. So he wants to psychologically attack Sita. So he creates a fake head with the help of one of the Rakshasas by the name Vidyut Jiva. He creates a magical head of Ramchandra along with his bow, and he presents that in front of Sita, telling that Ram came. He came crossing the ocean, and in the night when he was asleep, Prahasta and others they went and they chopped off the head of Ram. So here is the head of Ram. Now Sita was in despair, and Sarama, who was a very nice confidant of Sita, she comes and she consoles Sita and she tells that I have friendship with you and I really want to tell you that actually nothing has happened to Ram. This is all magic. And Ram has definitely crossed the ocean and he's here. However, the war hasn't even commenced. So that is when she hears the beating of drums that indicates the commencement of the war. And that is the soldiers are getting ready, and there are preparations going on for the war. So she hears all these different noises, and then she's convinced. Meanwhile, Sarama tells her that if you want me to do any other help, I can do. If you want me to go and speak to Ram, convey a message from you, I can do that too. But Sita says, actually, I just want to find out that if Ravan is going to give up fighting this war right away, even before the war commences. So, can you please go and find out what is happening in the palace? So that's when she goes to the palace, and there she sees Kaikasi is advising her son Ravan. But Ravan was simply not ready to listen. And again, Malyavan also tries to speak, but again, Ravan stays adamant. And then we saw the details of how Ravana started making preparations for the army formation. We saw how he was giving instructions to all the Rakshasas. And similarly, Ramchandra also gives instructions to the Vanaras. So he tells who should stand at the eastern gate of Lanka, who should attack the southern gate, who should attack the northern gate, and so on. And Ramachandra says, Lakshmana and myself, we will enter the northern gate where Ravana is stationed along with his army. So this information was actually received. This information was received um, by Ramchandra through some spies of Vibhishan. So he knew who was in which part of the gate. So Ramchandra decides that it will be appropriate if he attacks the northern gate. Now, um, and what happens is after all this was decided, the army formation was decided, who's going to attack, which side is decided. Ramchandra and his troops, they all climb the Suvela mountain, and they decide to spend the time there before they march towards the city of Lanka. And from the top of Savela mountain, they get to view the Trikuta mountain on which Ravana's kingdom is. And there are so many identifications of the Suvela mountain and the Trikuta mountain in the Lanka area. The Rambuda area, which is currently there in Sri Lanka, is kind of identified with the Trikuta mountain. And also in Rambuda, there is a very beautiful temple of Hanumanji. There's a very, very tall Hanuman, and it's very well maintained actually. It's a very lovely temple of Lord Hanuman, and there are so many pujas and other things, because it is believed that even when Hanuman was trying to search for Sita, at one point he comes and he rests in Rambuda. And it's the same mountain area, which is also called a Suvela mountain in ancient times, where the Ramachandra commenced the war from, meaning he had a view of the Trikuta mountain, which is again identified with the current Kirigalputta mountain that is there. And there is a lot of secret worship of Ravan that is done even to this day in that area. Anyway, so he was able to see the Trikuta mountain right opposite the Suvela mountain. And Sugriv and others, they could see that Ravana's palace was on top of the mountain peak, and Ravana was sitting in the balcony, and he was being fanned by some of his assistants. And seeing that, Sugriv he spots Ravan and he gets very excited and he wants to go and fight with Ravan. So he jumps from one mountain cliff, that is the Suvela mountain cliff, to the Trikuta mountain cliff, and he goes and he starts attacking Ravan. He attacks Ravan in various ways, and then they have a fight. And he was extremely powerful, Sugriva. So the commentators suspect that he should have been wearing the Kanchan Mala, that is the golden chain by which, when he wears that, he becomes extremely powerful. So all the power of the opponent comes into the person who's fighting with the Kanchan Mala. We saw this during Vali Vadam. So Sugriv was very, very powerful, and Ravan didn't know how to handle Sugriv. So he started performing magical tricks. he started vanishing. Then many Ravans appeared and so on. And then Sugriva was like, okay, whatever. And then he shakes off his hands and legs and he flies back to the Suvela mountain. And Ramchandra feels so bad. He's like, why did you do this? In haste, you're acting like a typical monkey. You're jumping from one mountain to the other and you're simply whimsically attacking Ravan. If something happens to you, what will happen to our entire, we'll all lose our energy and strength because we like you so much. You're such an integral part of our army. You're a very good friend of mine. What is the use of me coming all over to Lanka, fighting the war, and even taking back Sita when you are not there with us? So please don't do such things in haste. So anyway, anyhow, Ram also compliments Sugriv for the affection and love that Sugriv had for Lord Ramachandra. So that was the summary. We will continue from there. Okay. So now Ram will command the army to move forward. So they had to take further steps. So Ram looked at Lakshman and he told that we are currently in the Suvela mountain and it will be good for us to go to the forest nearby in this mountain. And that particular forest has lots of fruits and tubers and other nourishing items, water and so on. So even if you see to this day, there are beautiful waterfalls in that area. Rambada Falls, it's very famous. Lots of fruit-laden trees and waterfalls are present there even to this day. So he says, let our entire army go and eat well, let them eat nicely and let them nourish themselves so that we can get ready for the battle. And Ramchandra also sees many omens for a war. And after nicely eating, they get down from that mountain and Ram wields his bow and he's ready to march towards Lanka. So Vibhishan, Sugriva, Hanuman, Jambavan, Neela, Nala, Lakshman, Ram, all of them, they descended from that mountain. And while they were coming itself, they took hold of many mountain peaks and hundreds and thousands of huge trees. Why? Because that was their weapon. Now the Rakshasas, they were equipped with different kinds of weapons like bow and arrow and swords and spears and whatnot. But the Vanaras, what did they have? They had nothing. They only used mountain peaks. They used huge trees. They used their teeth and their nails. That was their weapon. And oftentimes we see even Hanuman with a gada, but actually in the Ramayana war, there is no mention of Hanuman using gada at any point. So that was their weapon. So they gathered their weapons, huge trees, boulders, everything. They gathered all of this and they marched quickly towards the main city of Lanka. And the Vanaras were getting enthused by Ram's voice as Ram was giving them instructions. And finally, they come to the northern gate of the city of Lanka because they knew that Ravan would be stationed in the northern gate. So now, when they reached that area near the northern gate of the city of Lanka, they saw different types of weapons stationed there. They saw so many kinds of weapons and shields that was kept there by different warriors. And these monkeys, they were looking at themselves holding stones and peaks. My Guru Maharaj in one lecture, he says, Ravana was well equipped with weapons, all sophisticated ones, chariots, animals of all kinds. But these monkeys, they just use stones, trees, and their nails and teeth as weapons. But these were the strongest of missiles. Why? Because they were empowered by Lord Ram. It's not the thing by itself that is important, but it is the grace of the Lord. Similar to the Pandavas, actually, they themselves were not big in terms of their army or great fighters, but they had Krishna with them. So the victory was with them. So this is very, very beautiful. On whose side the Lord is, that side will automatically be victorious. It is not the type of weapon that matters. By whose mercy these weapons become functional, that truly matters. Okay. So Ramchandra, he went towards the northern gate. And as per plan, Neela, along with Mainda and Dvivida, they reached the eastern gate. This was all planned in the earlier session itself, that they would take these positions. Angada, along with Rishabha, Gavaksha, Gaja, and Gavaya, they go to the southern gate. And Hanuman, along with the Prajanga, Tarasa, and other warriors, they go to the western gate. So, as per plan, they reach the specific gates. And of course, Sugriva, along with all the chief of the Vanaras, was like Garuda and Vayu combined, and he was in the middle. He would be stationed in the middle of the army. And behind Ram was Sushena along with Jambavan. And like this, all the Vanaras, they had teeth like tigers. They were holding rocks and they was enthusiastically waiting for a signal from Ram. And all these weapons were spiritualized. They were surcharged with spiritual energy. And where was the spiritual energy coming from? It was come from Lord Ram. So like this, they were all set. They were lashing their tails. It's a symptom of saying that they are ready, and their jaws and their nails were all tight, and they were ready to attack. So their faces were very grim and serious. Then Ramchandra, he specifically called out to Angada and he told Angada, now we are ready to start the war. But if there is a protocol before we start any war, just before the war commences, the opposing party should be given one last chance. So a messenger should be sent saying that we are now ready to commence the war. If you want to not fight the war, you have to tell us this is your last chance. So that was the war protocol, and Ramchandra would follow all the war protocols to the point. So he called Angada and tells Angada, on my behalf, you go and give this message to that Ravan who's going to die very soon. Go tell Ravan that I told him this. O demon Ravana, in your arrogance, so many sages, Gandharvas, Devas, Apsaras, Nagas, Yakshas, and thousands of kings have been oppressed from you. So from now on, that arrogance that you have developed because of the boons that you have received from Brahma is going to be subdued. You will be punished for abducting my wife. I'm here and I'm waiting at the gate of Lanka just to punish you. And this punishment is for the adharmic acts that you have done. You're the worst of all demons. If you have some courage, come and show it off in front of me. Why did you show that courage in some magic and you abducted Sita and took her away from me? So show your face in battle if you're a true man. Otherwise, you just return Sita and this is your last chance. So if you are ready to face me in the battle, I will fight with you and I'll make this world devoid of all the demons. And he also tells your brother, Vibhishan, he's a very pious man and he has already joined me. So this Vibhishan will now acquire Lanka, and Lanka will thereafter be free from all troubles. And he gives this message saying that Ravana, now you see your Lanka for the last one time. This is the last sight of Lanka because after this war, Lanka will be, during this war itself, Lanka is going to be completely destroyed. So, like this, he tells this message to Angada and he tells Angada to take this message to Ravan. So now Angada, holding this message of Ram in his heart, he had memorized the message, he had it in his heart. He jumps and in a leap, he goes to Ravana's palace. And Angada, there he saw Ravan. The war was about to commence. It was early in the morning, and Ravana was sitting on his throne along with all his ministers. And he goes and introduces himself. He says, I am Angada, the son of Vali. And he communicates the excellent speech that Ram had just said. So he tells, I am Angada. Have you ever heard of my name? My name has reached your ears. I'm the great messenger of Ramachandra, who's the king of the Koshala kingdom. I'm his messenger. This is Ram's message. Ram, who is born in the Raghu dynasty, who's the son of Kausalya, gives you a message. And here is the message. He said, O ruthless demon, come forth and enter into a combat with me. Prove yourself to be a true representative of the demoniac race. I will kill you along with your ministers, your sons, cousins, and other relatives. And once you are dead, this world will be free from all fear. And if you do not restore Sita honorably by bowing in front of me, you will be slain in a battle, and Vibhishan will become the king. So this is the message Angada repeats actually. He tries to repeat the message that is given by Ram. So hearing this, Ravana was infuriated. He was so angry. And then he called all his attendants and he said, capture this Vanara and immediately arrest him and kill him. So this is his usual stunt every time. Every time a messenger comes, Ravan's automatic, immediate reaction is capture him and kill him. So any messenger who comes, he says the same thing. So he tells this to his ministers and his people, capture Angada and put him to death. So then some people of Ravana, they go near Angada and they try to seize him. And Angada, he voluntarily allows himself to be seized so that he can display his prowess in front of all the demons. And they all go, four of them go and try to catch Angada, like how they catch a bird. And along with these four people, Angada rises into the air and he leaps up high into the roof and he lands on the roof and he shakes his arms and all these four demons fall off. And he all of them, they actually fall off right in front of the eyes of their king. So like this, Angada, he destroys the entire roof of that palace and he says, you dare not mess with me, and I am not any ordinary Vanara that you think. So then he very restlessly from the roof of Ravan's palace that was now broken and shattered, he jumps on to the place where the remaining Vanaras were. And Angada, he walks to Ram, he goes towards Ram, who was in the middle of the army forces, and he tells that now I think we are ready to fight because this Ravan wouldn't simply listen. So now Ramchandra understood the message and he was also all set to fight. He was surrounded by many, many Vanaras who were roaring in delight because they were all ready for a war. And under the order of Sugriva, Sushena started patrolling the army, basically check, army check if everybody is in proper position because the war is about to commence. So Sushena, who's an elderly person and who's a wise older person, he started patrolling the army to check if everything was okay. And meanwhile, now Angada came and he gave this news and he goes back and tells Ram that we are ready for the battle. Ravana's not budging. Meanwhile, the demons, they go and they start surveying from their different balconies. They see that a huge army has been assembled at the entrance of the city. So they go and tell Ravan that there is a big army that has come and there are innumerable troops of monkeys and they have occupied the entire city of Lanka. In fact, the Vanara Sen looks like a huge ocean within Lanka. So while they were all getting ready, Ravan comes out and he also he's able to see a massive army that is stationed. And Ramchandra, on his part, he is also looking forward. He's looking at Ravan, waiting for the fight to begin. And Ramchandra also was thinking in his mind, this is the city where my dear Sita is being held captive. And this today will be the end of Ravan. Today means what? This war will be the end of Ravan. So now the war will begin. So Ram issues a command to all the Vanaras to destroy the enemies hereafter. And they start picking up their rocks and boulders and huge trees. And they start breaking and destroying all the defensive gates that is there in the city of Lanka. That's how you attack. You first attack all the defense system. And as they start attacking the defense system, Ravana also commands his army to start the war. Of course, sounds of conches were blown from the demon army side, and the monkeys on their side they started shouting terrible roars because they don't have conch shells, so they were roaring, saying that we are also ready. And the demons came forward, the Vanaras went forward, the demons started striking the Vanaras with their swords, and the Vanaras were striking the demons with trees, mountain tops, nails, and teeth. So, like this, an extraordinary fight that was never seen before arose between the demons and the Vanaras. And the demons and Vanaras, they were running up to each other and they were smashing each other's heads and so on. So, how did they fight? Indrajit fought with Angada, Sampati fought with Prajanga, Hanuman fought with Jambumali. This is a different Jambumali. Vibhishan fought with a demon by the name Shatrughna. Gaja fought with Tapana. Neela with Nikumba, Sugriva with Pragasa, Lakshman with Virupaksha, Agniketu and others with Rama, Vajradhamsha with Mainda, Ashani Prabha with Dvivida, pra, Pratapana with Nala, Sushena with Vidyunmali, and so on. So, like this, they had paired up with each other and they started fighting, and there were streams of blood flowing everywhere. Many people had hand to hand encounters. The Vanaras were getting stronger and stronger, and with these mountain tops and boulders, they were smashing down all the demons and they were killing them. Hanuman killed Jambumali with his fist on the very first day itself. Hanuman killed Jambumali with his fist. Nala killed Nikumba. Nala actually plucked out the eyes of Pratapana. Lakshman killed Virupaksh. Ram killed Agniketu and so many others. So on the very first day, the Vanaras were getting highly victorious. And like this, the Vanaras and the demons, they were fighting and fighting the entire day and the sun sank below the horizon. So generally, when it sets, when the sun sets, the fight should stop. But this was a fight with the demons. So the demons generally they get strong during the night. So because the fight was with demons, the fighting continued even during the night time. Okay, as if the fight is only between humans, then we should follow the protocol. But then everywhere we see in all great wars, the protocols are broken. There is always night fight, even till recently, right? The only in the night time the attacks happen. Hmm. We are also full of, we are also demoniac civilization now. Only in the night time there are attacks by all these fighter planes or drones or whatever, today's attacks. So anyway, the nighttime also set in, but still the demons continued to fight, and the demons were getting strong in the night than in the daytime. So there were always shouts of and cries of war and abusing each other. Like the monkeys would say, "Oh, you're a crazy demon," and the demon would say, "You're a silly monkeys," and they would pounce on each other. So, and this terrible battle continued to happen even in the dead of darkness. Even in the Mahabharata, we see how the Kshatriyas, they would flaunt their capabilities and they would insult the capabilities of the opposing warrior. So similarly here also the Vanaras were shouting at the demons and the demons were shouting at the Vanaras. One person was telling strike him, the other one was telling him tear him apart. One was like come near, why are you running away? So like this there were screams in the night and the fight was getting more and more severe and the demons were getting stronger and stronger. Now Angada at this point in time he was facing Indrajit. And Angada, on his part, he struck Indrajit with his weapon, which is nothing but stones. And he also struck the charioteer of Indrajit and the horses of Indrajit all at once. Okay, so you can imagine how powerful Angada was. And Indrajit, who was an expert in all sorts of magical warfare, seeing his situation that his horses were struck, his charioteer was struck, he was also struck. He decided that he should start magical warfare. He vanished from that spot. And seeing that, Ramchandra, Lakshman, and all the sages, they were very, very pleased with Angada's heroic act because they were very impressed how this young Angad, he's a young prince, and he was able to fight so heroically with Indrajit. And but however, all these sages and all these supernatural beings, they all knew the power of Indrajit. They knew how Indrajit can do severe magical warfare. So they were just wondering what Indrajit is going to do now. Then that Indrajit, who is Ravan's son, he suddenly went out of sight and he became invisible. And being invisible, he started throwing and hurling sharp arrows at the Vanaras. And these arrows were like serpents. The serpent like arrows, like every arrow has a quality. So you have these Nagastras, which are like serpents. So he started throwing serpent like arrows that were infused with snakes. And especially, he didn't target some random Vanaras. He was very intelligent, Indrajit. What he did was he started targeting these arrows at the limbs of Ram and Lakshman. So he knew that Ram and Lakshman are the key players here. So Indrajit, being very intelligent, he started shooting different kinds of arrows infused with the power of snakes towards Ram and Lakshman. So these arrows, they would turn into snakes when they would reach Ram and Lakshman, and they started binding Ram and Lakshman. There was a network of arrows that were shot by Indrajit, so much so that these arrows turned into snakes and they pierced through the body of Ram and Lakshman, and they arrested them, so much so that they could not even move. And all the Vanaras were really shocked and dismayed, and they saw how Ram and Lakshman were wounded so badly by the serpentine arrows that were shot by invisible Indrajit. So they couldn't understand how this is happening, and they were feeling so bad to see Ram and Lakshman being hurt like this. When Ramchandra was struck down like this, he called some of the Vanaras who were close by, and he told them, "Go and search for this Indrajit. I'm not able to see him. He's doing some sort of a magical warfare. We are not able to figure out where he is. Find him somehow and stop him from shooting so many Nagastras on us." So, like this, Ramchandra, he ordered the sons of Sushena, who were close by. He also called for Neela, who's the army general. He told Angada, he told Sharaba, Dvivida, Hanuman, Rishabha, Sanuprashtan, so many others to go and search for Indrajit. So that if Indrajit is spotted and captured, then these arrows can be withdrawn. But however, Indrajit was extremely skilled. He was extremely skilled in using these magical weapons, and he was releasing weapons in great speed, and it was so hard to find him where he was because of the magical powers he had. And these arrows that were specifically aimed at Ram and Lakshman, they were tearing the flesh of Ram and Lakshman, and blood was flowing from the wound of Ram and Lakshman. And at that time, Indrajit, he was very, very happy. He was very happy that now they are arrested because they just couldn't move. Mhm. He tells, "Hey Ram and Lakshman," invisible voice from the sky, he was telling, "Hey Ram and Lakshman, when I enter into a combat, making myself invisible, even Indra cannot approach me. That's why I'm called Indrajit, because I've even conquered Indra. And who are you after all? You are just ordinary humans. So I can arrest you in no time." And he started shooting these arrows, and all their vital parts were struck, and they were not able to move. It is mentioned that there was a network of arrows. They were not even capable of looking up. They were struck down so badly, and there was not even space between two fingers. For the like that, they were struck by so many arrows, and they were completely exhausted. They were covered with blood, and they fell down onto earth. So, of course, the commentator at this point in time asks a question. We are talking about Ram and Lakshman being hurt and wounded and blood and so on. So, how do we understand this? Because Ram and Lakshman, when they come in their transcendental body. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha. It is not an ordinary panchabhautika sharira, right? Made out of earth, water, air, fire, and ether. That's not the kind of body the Lord has. The Lord, he and his body are non-different. It's transcendental. So how did he display all this? Of course, the answer we all know is that when he comes in a human form, he tries to display human-like qualities, but one should not think that that is all in all, that is his true nature. Just like Jiva Goswami also mentions, in some places in Bhagavatam, it is mentioned Krishna, with all his mischief, he would pass stool and urine in some places to irritate the gopis. But one should not think this is ordinary. One should understand that it was all for Leela, and everything about the Lord is transcendental. It is nothing, it is not something that is human like in one sense. It is always transcendental. So even this display of blood or whatever, it is just for the sake of Leela. But we should always remember that the Lord's body is beyond this Panchabhautika Sharira. Okay, so now Indrajit, hmm, he had captured Ram and Lakshman, and they were completely entwined with so many serpentine arrows. And Indrajit, after doing this in his invisible form itself, he goes and he strikes some more Vanaras like Nila, Mainda, Dvivida, Hanuman, Jambavan, and so on. And he vanishes. After he does this, he just goes because he wants to go and tell this news to his father that now they are dead, and on day one itself the war is over. Ram and Lakshman are gone. So he wanted to pass on this news. So he vanishes from that place. Then Sugriva, he's very worried because he understands that specifically Indrajit has shot all these serpentine arrows towards Ram and Lakshman. So he goes running to the place where Ram and Lakshman were, and Sugriv sees their condition and he starts bursting into tears. He feels helpless, he was completely confused, and he doesn't know what to do. So at that time, Vibhishan, who was also a Rakshasa, he comes there and he's also shattered. He's seeing the condition of Ram and Lakshman and he feels terrible. But however, he takes a position where he tries to bring things under control. So he starts to console Sugriva. And he says, Sugriva, it's okay. I think we can fix this somehow. And Vibhishan looked at Ram and Lakshman and he tells Sugriva, Sugriva, don't worry. Ram is simply not going to die. Don't think that just because he's struck by these serpentine arrows, he's going to die. No, Ram is much beyond all this. So he wipes off the tears on Sugriva's face and he asks him to be bold, develop the Kshatriya spirit, and somehow hold on. So he says, don't lament at this point in time. We should become more strong. If we succumb to lamentation at this time, our entire army will become weak. If you are the leader, because Sugriv was the leader of all the Vanras. So if Sugriv starts crying and breaking down, then imagine the condition of the entire army. So he tries to reassure everybody, nothing much as said, don't worry, don't worry. This is only something temporary. Very soon we can get out of this, and let's all not succumb to the idea that we are losing. We should have more confidence in what we are doing. So he tries to give a speech to all the Vanaras. He goes and he consoles all the Vanaras and he's giving a speech saying that this is not the time to give up. No, Ram and Lakshman will be back. We'll find a way and so on. Meanwhile, Indrajit, he rushes to Ravan and he informs to Ravan that both Ram and Lakshman are killed because he's so confident because this Nagastra, it's completely bound them and every inch of their body is pierced and the blood is coming out and there's no way they're going to escape this. So that's his understanding, right? So this is Indrajit, and he's very sure. Okay, so he goes and he tells Raman that on the very first day, Ram and Lakshman are killed. You didn't even have to come to the battlefield. I alone, I am enough to take care of them. And they are over. So Ravana was so thrilled. He was so thrilled. See, the war had barely commenced, and on day one itself, everything was done. So he praised Indrajit for whatever he did. And Raman was extremely happy, and he was thinking, now this is victory. Now, what was Ravan's victory all about? Ravan's victory was all about Sita, right? So now he knew he could enjoy Sita as he liked because finally Sita will have to succumb to his desire. That is what was running in his mind. So his focus was on Sita. So he immediately called some female demons, and of which even Trijata was one among them. And he tells them to take Sita and the Pushpaka Viman and show the condition of Ram and Lakshman and prove to her that it's over, everything is over, and now no more Ram and Lakshman. So, like this, he calls all these demonesses and he tells them, why don't you just go take her in the Pushpak Viman and show the condition of Ram and Lakshman? So the female demons, including Sarama, they took the instruction of Ravan and they went in the Pushpak Viman. They asked Sita to alight the Pushpak Viman, and they go to the battlefield to show Sita the condition of the unconscious state of Ram and Lakshman in the battlefield. Now, when Sita saw the condition of Ram and Lakshman, seeing their terrible condition, she imagined that they have already dead. Now, at this point in time, Ram and Lakshman were unconscious, right, because of the severe wounds that were created by these snakes that had coiled up their body. So she imagined that they're already dead, and she starts to break down because that is the kind of information that was also given by Ravan. And Sita was so filled with grief, and she begins to lament. She's also losing consciousness. She just couldn't believe anything. She begins wailing, and she said, "Oh, what is this? What is this unfortunate situation? So many astrologers in the past, they read the marks on and signs on my body, and they made huge predictions and prophecies that I will bear sons and I will not be widowed. But then I see that Ram has been killed. That means have their words been proved to be untrue? If Ram is slain, then all these astrologers who predicted that I will be the wife of a great king who performs many, many sacrifices, their words have gone false. But still, I continue to bear some auspicious marks on the lotus, like a lotus, etc., on the soles of my feet. Such marks are that of a queen of a husband who's a great king. I don't see any marks of ill fortune on my body. I still see the marks of a queen, the wife of a great king. So I'm not able to understand this. She says, my hair is still fine. It's black in color and it is smooth. My eyebrows are disunited. My shanks are hairless and well rounded. My teeth is uniform without any gaps between them. My temples, eyes, arms, feet, ankles, and thighs are homogeneous and well proportioned. My fingers are rounded. I have glossy nails in the right length. My breasts are close to each other. My navel is deeply dented. My complexion is like the shine of a pearl. The hair on my skin is very, very soft. The toes and the two soles of my feet touch the ground. The 10 toes should touch the ground, actually. These are all auspicious bodily identifications according to the Samudrika Lakshana. These qualities are considered very auspicious, and the person who has these kind of bodily features will live an auspicious life, meaning she will not have such terrible situations. She says, my hands and feet are rosy. They are fully provided with marks of barley corn, devoid of space between my fingers and toes. My smile is gentle. So I have all these different lakshanas on my body that I will not be in this condition. But what is this? I'm not able to believe anything. Many astrologers told that since I bear all these marks, I'll become the queen of a great king. Ram and Lakshman surely they know the use of different astras like the Varuna Astra, Agni Astra, Vayu Astra, Brahma Astra. They know how to use these weapons. How come they have been defeated in a battle and they have been killed? And she says, actually, I don't even lament so much for myself, but I lament for my mother-in-law, Kausalya. Kausalya, she was always absorbed in a thought, thinking, when will I see Lakshman, Sita, and Ram returning from Ayodhya? How long this vow of 14 years is going to pass? She was constantly thinking of Ram all the while. She will be such an unfortunate mother. Oh, what my terrible condition is. So, thinking like that, Sita, she is swooning and she is blabbering and she's lost control of who she is. So, at that time, Trijata, who was right by her, she stops Sita and she says, Sita, hey, goddess, don't worry. Your husband Ram hasn't died. He's not dead yet. Rather, he's still living. I will give you logical reasons to tell you how the two brothers, Ram and Lakshman, are living. First and foremost thing, if Ram and Lakshman were not alive, then these monkey soldiers would not be like this. everybody would be plunged in misery and the whole battlefield would be very different. Everyone will be running in all directions aimlessly because their leader is now dead. But however, if you watch closely, these Vanaras, they are guarding Ram and Lakshman. If a person is dead, then they know that is the end of the war and they would be running for their lives. Rather, they are very, very vigilantly watching Ram and Lakshman, which means Ram and Lakshman are still alive, they're just unconscious. Secondly, that is the first identification, she says. Okay, the situation in the war field and the reaction of the Vanaras. Now, the second thing she says, this Pushpaka Vimana will cannot carry a woman who has lost her husband. Okay, it doesn't carry such a woman. So, which means if Pushpaka Vimana is flying with you, that means your husband is still alive. That is the second quality she mentions. And she goes on to say further, explaining her first argument, that the army doesn't appear to be confused or perturbed, and they are very carefully guarding Ram and Lakshman, and they are not at all, they have not lost hope. Okay. Um, they seem quite confident and they are very vigilant. So far, 2 points she said. One is the reaction of the army, and second is that Pushpaka Vimana will not carry a woman who has lost her husband. Now, the third thing she mentions is look at their face. Look at the way they are lying down. Though they are deprived of their senses, the beauty has not gone from their faces. So usually at the time of death, the tejas from that body also leaves. Okay, but here in the if you see a person who's still showing symptoms of life, there'll be some sort of indication that the person is still alive, though he may be unconscious. So she says, look at their faces. If they are dead, their faces will reveal it. Hmm? Even demigods like Indra cannot vanquish these two heroes in the battle. So, hearing the three analysis number one is the situation of the Vanaras. Second is that the way the Pushpaka Vimana functions. And third is the life air hasn't gone out simply because there is still symptoms of life that I can see just by observing the face. So she says, hence Ram and Lakshman are not yet dead. Yes, they are in a compromised situation, but they are not yet dead. So then, hearing her words, Sita was consoled. She joins her palms and she tells Trijata that I hope whatever words you have said is true. And Sita and Trijata again, they fly back to the Ashokavatika, and then she gets down and she goes back to the Ashokavatika. Okay. Now, meanwhile, the condition there, with Ram and Lakshman. So, while the Vanaras were guarding the two brothers, slowly after some time, Ramachandra he wakes up from his swoon. He was unconscious, but he slowly gathers his consciousness and he looks around. But however, he was unable to move simply because all these arrows had tied him up so badly. But then he looked around and he saw his brother who was fallen next to him. And he saw that his brother was still bleeding and he was in an unconscious situation, fallen on the ground. Now, this made Ramachandra full of grief and he began to lament. It made him really sad looking at his brother's condition. So he tells, my dear brother Lakshman, what is this? Are you alive or not? What is the use of anything to me in this world if you are not recovering? What is the use of even Sita? What is the use of me living? If my brother is not with me and if he's struck down in the fight, what is the use of me gaining anything? So he looks around and he says, "How can Lakshman be replaceable? There is nobody in this world who's equal to Lakshman. There is no friend or brother who's like Lakshman. If something happens to Lakshman, then I will give up my life. And what will I say to my mother Kausalya or Sumitra or Kaikeyi? How will Sumitra handle this if she knows that her son is dead? What will I communicate to Sumitra about the loss of her son, even if I return to Ayodhya at any point in time?" So he says, whatever has happened, I am to be blamed. Everything is because of me. It's my fault that Lakshman had to come here to the forest, and Lakshman had to come and fight the war with me. So Lakshman is about to, he begins to lament in various ways. He remembers all the services that Lakshman had done for him. He says, Lakshmana, you used to console me whenever I used to be in great sorrow, and I've never heard harsh words from you, even when they were provoking situations. He glorifies Lakshman. He says Lakshman could shoot 500 arrows at one shot. He was even stronger than Kartavirya Arjuna in archery. He says, Sugriva, I cannot live without Lakshman. I think you can return with all the Vanaras and let me die here along with Lakshman. He says, Sugriva, you again cross the sea with your army. You keep Angada in the front along with all your followers. Take Nala and Neela in the front and go back to India. Go back with all your people and leave me alone here. Let me also die along with Lakshman. Ramchandra begins to give a big vote of thanks to all the Vanaras. He mentions each of the Vanaras by name, and he talks about their great services. He's all choked up and he's crying, and he says, okay, I bid farewell to all of you. All of you can go. Now I will also die with my brother. Now, sometime back, Vibhishan was the one who was consoling everybody, and he had gone to give a pep talk to all the other Vanaras, and he just turned back to come back to the place where Ram and Lakshman were fallen down. So he was temporarily not in that place when Ramchandra had regained consciousness, and he was lamenting about his situation and telling all the Vanaras to return. So now Vibhishan, after giving a pep talk to one side of the army, he comes back and he says that Ram had regained consciousness. And when he was coming with his gada like that, walking like a lion and coming towards the army, suddenly, see, you can imagine this. So all the Vanaras, they were looking at us. There was one set of Vanaras who were surrounding Ram, okay? And Ram was telling farewell to everybody, bye-bye, everything. And Vibhishan was in a distance, and he was talking to some other Vanaras who were very frenzied, who were very worried. And then he gave a pep talk, and he was returning with his gada, like walking like a lion. And suddenly, the Vanaras who were looking at Ram and listening to the speech of Ram, they just looked up and they saw that a demon was holding a gadara and walking towards them. Seeing this, the demons suddenly they got scared and they started running aimlessly in all directions. And Sugriva was like, "What happened? Why are you all running?" And he asked Angad, "What happened? Why are they all suddenly running away?" Then Sugriva he realizes that actually these Vanaras, they got confused. They thought Vibhishan is Indrajit. They thought Indrajit has come back, and they got terrified and they were running away. So again, Sugriv tells Jambavan, he tells Jambavan, please call all those Vanaras back. It is only Vibhishan, it is not Indrajit. So go calm them down and bring them back again to the battlefield. So then Vibhishan, anyhow, he comes towards Ram and Lakshman, and he sees the condition of Ram. He's at least relieved that Ram has regained consciousness, but he feels very bad for the condition of Lakshman. And Vibhishan, he reassuringly speaks to everybody, saying that actually nothing will happen. But however, at this point, actually, Vibhishan, when he is seeing the condition and he's hearing a lot of feedback from all the people who are present there about their condition, he starts crying. And this time, Sugriv, again, he tries to console Vibhishan and says, it's okay, we should not lose hope, we should not lose hope. So at one point, Vibhishan was consoling Sugriva, at one point, Sugriva was consoling Vibhishan. So now the Vanaras thought it's time to take action. It's just not enough if we just console each other and say nothing will happen. We have to take action to ensure nothing happens. So they go to Sushena. Now we all know Sushena is a very senior person, and they go to Sushena, and he was also Sugriv's father-in-law. He was the father of Tara. Okay, so they all go to Sushena to see what can be done to bring them back to consciousness. Of course, Ramchandra is regaining consciousness, but then he should be fully relieved from that condition, and Lakshman should regain consciousness fully. So at that time, Sushena, he tells Sugriv that I have an idea. Actually, in the past, there was a great battle that happened between the demigods and the demons. And the demons are known for this magical warfare, and from time to time, they would become invisible and they would fight. And they shot many, many arrows at the devas, and they were winning in the battle. Now, these devas, they were all wounded. All the demigods were wounded and they fell unconscious. At that time, Brihaspati, he treated them with the help of herbs, chanting some mantras. So, Sushena gives this idea. He tells that some of the Vanaras, like Sampati, Panasa, and others, they should go in the speed of wind and they should go to the ocean of milk and they should bring those herbs from the ocean of milk. So, he says that these Vanaras know very well about these herbs. So, the Sampati and Panasa, they had some biology classes and they knew about different herbs. So he says Sampati and Panasa, they will know exactly about these herbs. These two herbs are Sanjeeva Karani and Vishalya Karani. So the we say Sanjeevani herb. That's all we say, right? Actually, there are four herbs: Sanjeevani, Vishalya Karani, Sandhini, and one more. Vishalya. Okay, later again we'll see the names of these herbs. So anyway, Sanjeeva Karani is life-giving. It will restore life, and Vishalya Karani will remove the poison. Sandhini will join different bodily limbs. Sandhini, Vishalya Karani, Sanjeeva Karani, and I don't know why I'm not remembering, but anyway, two herbs are mentioned here. Okay, two herbs are mentioned here. In the later chapters, the remaining herbs will also be mentioned. So hold on till then. So now two herbs he says. He says Sanjeeva Karani and Vishalya Karani. So Sanjeeva Karani is going to restore their life. Vishalya Karani will remove all the poison that the Nagas have infused in their body. So he says these herbs are present in the Milky Ocean during the churning of the ocean of milk. Different medicinal herbs were also obtained. And he says there are two mountains in the middle of the Milk Ocean. They are called as Chandragiri and Dronagiri. So in Chandragiri and Dronagiri, from where the nectar was churned previously, these herbs still exist. So you should go there, send these vanaras there and bring those herbs. And he says, of course, let Hanuman, who's the son of wind god, also go there with these vanaras. That way they'll be successful in returning back with the herbs. So he calls out three of them, Sampati, Panasa, and Hanuman. So all of them should go and they should get these herbs from ocean of milk. So like this, they were discussing a possible situation, and if these exact herbs are identified, then we can restore Ram and Lakshman back to life. So they were discussing like this, and suddenly, while they were discussing, and a big committee was being formed as to how to identify the herb and how what logistics they have to do to go and return. Suddenly, at that time, there was a huge wind that arose in the sky. There were huge, heavy clouds that were covering the sky, and lightning was striking, and the waves in the ocean were rising. It was causing all the mountains to tremble, and it was like an earthquake. Something huge was coming in the sky. What was it? एतस्मिन्नन्तरे वायोर्मेघाञ्चनापि सविद्युत् पर्यस्यन् सागरे तोयं कम्पयन्निव पर्वताम्. Then suddenly there was a sound of a flapping of the wings of a huge bird that sounded like thunder, and the flying of this bird was hitting huge branches of trees, and trees were falling down into the ocean. Snakes were becoming frightened within the ocean, and marine animals plunged deeply into the ocean, being afraid. The Vanaras in the battlefield could see a huge creature coming onto this inside through the sky. Tato मुहूर्तद् गरुडं वैनतेयं महाबलं वानरा ददृशु सर्वे ज्वलन्तम् इव पावकम्. Just then, all the Vanaras saw within a moment a huge, mighty eagle, Garuda, who is the son of Vainateya, who appeared in the sky just like blazing fiery comet. Jwalantam Niva Pavakam. So it was blazing like a comet. And who was that? It was Garuda Vainateya. He had appeared in the sky. And on seeing Garuda, this huge eagle that had come there, all the demons, they were agitated with fear. And while Garuda was coming itself, the serpents who had bound Ram and Lakshman in the form of sharp arrows, they fled away, just like how snakes fly away. They just go away in the presence of Garuda, because Garuda's natural food is the snakes. So when Garuda comes near, then what happens? All these snakes, they just run away. Okay, so this Garuda Pasham, it had tied up the limbs of Ram and Lakshman, and it had pierced through their limbs. Not Garuda, Nagapasham, sorry. As Garuda was coming, they all just, gave way, put, like that, everything. It started releasing from the body of Ram and Lakshman. So there are very, very beautiful instances in various scriptures about the greatness and the presence of Garuda. So we'll take a few minutes to glorify Garuda at this point in time, because Garuda's presence is so important, and it marks a turning point in this epic. He's a great servant of the Lord. He is always at the lotus feet of the Lord. He's also the carrier of the Lord. So we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, when Kardama Prajapati had the vision of the Supreme Lord. This is in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in chapter 21, that is titled Conversation between Manu and Kardama. At that time, Kardama, he performs meditation and he's able to see the Lord, and then he requests the Lord for some benedictions, and the Lord leaves to Vaikuntha. So when the Lord comes, he comes on the back of Garuda. He's stationed, he stands. Actually, if you see that painting also to this day, you'll see Vishnu standing on Garuda, not sitting on Garuda, he's standing on Garuda. And he comes and he gives darshan to Kardam Prajapati. And then he returns. And the verse number 34 says, while the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by the great liberated souls. The sage stood listening to the hymns forming the basis of the Samaveda, were vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier Garuda. So basically, the Vanaras, when they were discussing, what do we do? Now Ram and Lakshman are in this terrible condition, and Sushena is giving them ideas. We should go to the ocean of milk, go to Chandragiri and Dronagiri and bring all these herbs. Suddenly, of course, Valmiki Ramayana is telling they heard a thunderous noise and all that. But it appears that the Vanaras were hearing the chants of the Samaveda. Why? Because the flapping of Garuda's wings is nothing but the vibrations of the Samaveda. In the Vedic literature, Prabhupada says, in the Vedic literature, it is stated that the two wings of the transcendental bird Garuda, who carries the Lord everywhere, are the two divisions of the Samaveda known as Brihat and Rathantara. Garuda works as the carrier of the Lord, therefore, he is considered the transcendental prince of all carriers. With his two wings, Garuda began to vibrate the Samaveda, which is chanted by great sages to pacify the Lord. The Samaveda utterances are automatically heard by the devotee when another great devotee of the Lord, Garuda, flaps his wings. So the Vanaras, they could hear the chants of the Samaveda. Why? Because it was nothing but the flapping of the wings of Garuda. So Garuda was coming right there. And Prabhupada, he writes so many things about Garuda in so many places. So just a quick compilation for us to take an opportunity for a moment to think about this great servant of the Lord. So Prabhupada says Garuda is known to be an inhabitant of the Kinnara Loka. Kinnaras are half human like form with wings. So Garuda is an embodiment of the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Garuda himself is an embodiment of the impersonal Brahmajyoti, and more often he is known as an embodiment of the Vedas. And what is the most important part of the Vedas? It is the Sama Veda. That's why Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, among the Vedas, I am the Sama Veda. And Garuda's flapping of the wings are the two divisions of the Sama Veda. Now, Garuda, he's an eternal associate of the Lord, and he's a very great devotee, very great devotee. He's always at the lotus feet of Lord Narayan. If you see, Narayan has two important servants at his lotus feet. One is Garuda, the other is Hanuman, actually. So, Hanuman and Garuda, these two are the great servants of the Lord, and they are also known as the greatest of all carriers of the Lord. The greatest, the senior carrier is Garuda, and the junior carrier is Hanuman. So in this particular scene, we have both of them together, both Garuda and Hanuman together at the service of Lord Ram. He's an eternal associate of the Lord, and of course, he's a great devotee. And being a great devotee of the Lord, he always wants to take an opportunity to serve the Lord. Now, in this particular incarnation, when Ramchandra was performing his pastimes, where is the scope for Garuda to come and serve? Hanuman had, obviously, Hanuman is a very important personality in the Ramayana, and he was an associate of the Lord performing pastimes. But Garuda didn't have any opportunity. He was waiting. When will I go and serve the Lord? And he thought this is the best opportunity when the Lord was struck by the Nagastra that was shot by Indrajit. Because wherever Garuda is, their snakes cannot survive. Right? So he always tries to grab an opportunity so that he can serve in the Lord's pastimes. And we see in the Bhagavatam also, in so many circumstances, in so many different incarnations, the Lord comes on the back of Garuda. Like, for example, the Lord came on the back of Garuda when he wanted to deliver Gajendra from the grasp of the crocodile. So, again, he comes on Garuda when he appeared in front of Dhruva. He came on Garuda when he appeared in front of Prithu Maharaj. Even during the churning of the milk ocean, the Lord, he comes on Garuda, he mounts on Garuda and he comes. And interestingly, during the churning of the milk ocean, because the Lord wanted the service of the great snake Vasuki, he asks Garuda to leave the place. And Garuda never argued, saying that, hey, I am a bigger servant, I am so important, you're not giving me service, you're asking me to leave, and you're taking service from some insignificant Vasuki. He didn't argue like that. He was very submissive. The minute the Lord thought, you should not be staying here, I don't think this is the place for you, please leave, he immediately leaves. So the Lord knows whom to match with whom. So he knows if Vasuki is there, then there is going to be a problem because snakes are a natural food for eagles. So he says, Vasuki has to be here, so you better leave this place. And Garuda left immediately as soon as he took the big service of carrying the Mandara mountain and then placing it in the middle of the ocean. It's not any small task that only Garuda can do. He carried the entire Mandara mountain and he was able to leave it in the middle of the milk ocean as a churning rod. Again, in the Bali Maharaj's pastime also, we see how Garuda appears towards the end. Towards the end, he comes and he helps in tying up this Bali with Varunapash. So like that, again, Prabhupada says that Garuda is a constant companion of the Supreme Lord, and he goes and serves wherever the Lord needs him. Now, when Krishna came also, Garuda served. So we know how when Krishna was performing pastimes, especially in Dwaraka, Garuda was always with Krishna. How? Because Garuda was on the flag of Sri Krishna's chariot. And not only that, Krishna also personally summoned Garuda when he went to fight with Narakasur along with Satyabhama. There also we see the presence and the importance of Garuda, how Garuda was fighting with all the attacks of that demon Murari. Mura, not Murari, Mura. Krishna's Murari, the demon is Mura. Anyway, so, but then a question may be raised that, yes, he served Ramchandra, he served Krishna during the Dwarka pastimes, he served so many other incarnations of the Lord, but it appears that Garuda did not serve Krishna when he was in Vrindavan, right? So there are some beautiful instances that Garuda was there even that time. How is it? So we see that Krishna was a simple cowherd boy in Vrindavan, and the Brajavasis had very personal relationship with Krishna. So the Brajavasis were thinking, "This is my son, this is my friend." So they had that kind of a intimate connection with Krishna. So Krishna couldn't show his supremacy by openly summoning Garuda from time to time. But then Srila Rupa Goswami, he finds out that Garuda was there during certain circumstances. The great researcher has found out. He saw how Garuda came, but nobody captured those moments. So when Vrindavan was attacked by Indra's heavy rains, at that time Garuda was there. Where was he? He was actually above the clouds. He was observing the entire incident from above the clouds, and he was in anger and he was perspiring, and he somehow or the other he wanted to stop this Indra from showering those huge rains, and he was extremely angry. But he couldn't enter the dham of Vrindavan because Krishna wouldn't like it, and Krishna's pastimes with the residents of Vrindavan would be disturbed. So again, when Krishna was fighting Kalia and dancing on the hoods of Kalia, at that time also Garuda was very angry. He was infuriated and he began to murmur to himself. He was telling himself, Krishna is so powerful that simply by his thundering voice, the wives of Kalia will have miscarriages. But because my Lord has been insulted by a snake, I want to devour the snake immediately. But I cannot do so in the presence of my Lord because the Lord may become angry with me. So we all know he was very afraid to go there because of the arrangement of Shaubari Rishi. Shaubari Rishi had given a curse to Garuda. Garuda was banned from coming there. But then when Garuda, he saw that his dear Lord Krishna was insulted by a mere snake, Garuda wanted to go and eat him up. But he was resisting himself from coming simply because he thought the Lord will get disturbed. He was not worried about Shaubari's curse. Rather, he was thinking, my Lord, it will be a dishonor to Krishna. So he decided not to go. But he was there. He was there in the sky and he was trying to come and see if he can help. And in Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami also mentions that Garuda has an affection that is a mixture of servitude and fraternity. That is his mood. Not only is he a servant, he also has this mood of fraternity, of friendship, just like how Uddhava and Lord Shiva are to Krishna. So Garuda also has that kind of a feeling towards Krishna. Again, in the Chaitanya Leela, now we saw Krishna Leela, we saw actually he also wanted to enter Dham, but he was always flying on top, trying to see how I can participate, but he was not able to openly participate. But indirectly, he was participating, he was exhibiting different emotions. Now, in Chaitanya Leela, also we see Garuda actually comes. So, in Madhya Leela, chapter 9, during the South India Yatra, we see that Mahaprabhu was traveling. When he was traveling in the south, some of the Buddhists, they had heard about the scholarship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they came to have some arguments with him, debates with him. So one Buddhist teacher, he had come with many of his disciples, and he was a very learned scholar, and he wanted to establish his 9 philosophical conclusions of Buddhism. He wanted to come and establish that in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, Buddhists, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Buddhists, they are not even fit for discussion and they should not be seen by Vaishnavas. If you see 1,000 years ago, even during the times of Ramanujacharya and others, when the Buddhism was rising very, very high, it was getting like, it was almost like a disease. Everybody was becoming Buddhist at that time. And at that time, these Buddhists, they would come and they would present their 9 tenets in front of different schools of thought. And especially Vaishnavas, they would have debates with them. And the Vaishnavas wouldn't even see a Buddhist. They consider Buddhists to be unfit to even looked upon. So if you see some of the debates that happened with Madhvacharya or Ramanujacharya, if the Buddhists are there would be a big screen that is put because the Vaishnava will never see a Buddhist face to face. So there would be a screen, and from behind the screen they will talk. the Vaishnavas. And there is this pastime of Ramanujacharya taking the form of Sesha, Adi Sesha, because he's an incarnation of Adi Sesh. So he takes the form of Adi Sesh behind the screen and he talks. And even for a very long time, if someone hears the philosophy of Buddhists or sees Buddhists, they had to go and take a shower, meaning it's considered so unclean. So that was the culture. And here also Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to the south and the Buddhists wanted to talk to him. Actually, these Buddhists, they should not be seen, Vaishnavas should not even see them. It is considered a taboo to even look at them. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to face them simply because he wanted to decrease their false pride. And he says the Buddhist cult is based on argument and logic, and they contain 9 chief principles. And when in the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they could not establish their cult. They were heavily, heavily defeated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu broke their arguments into pieces. These scholars, they were defeated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and these Buddhist philosophers, they left. They were actually insulted, and they were very unhappy, and they wanted to take revenge. So the leader, he came up with a plot. He brought a huge plate of untouchable food and they presented it in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they called it Mahaprasadam. So like this, when when that contaminated, I said uncontaminated, sorry. The contaminated food was presented in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Buddhists thought they will trick Mahaprabhu. So they presented that contaminated food, and then when that contaminated food went close to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that time Garuda came. So Garuda came, he appeared on the spot. He picked up the plate with his beak and he flew into the sky, and the untouchable food fell on the head of the Buddhist, and specifically Garuda, he dropped the plate on top of the head of the leader of the Buddhists. And when the plate, that metal plate fell on his forehead, his head started to bleed and he fell down unconscious. And then all the Buddhist disciples, they go and fall at the feet of Mahaprabhu and they ask Mahaprabhu to bring back their leader to consciousness. Then Mahaprabhu tells that you all chant the names of Krishna and automatically your master will come back to consciousness. And based on this advice of Mahaprabhu, all of them, they started to chant the names of Krishna, Rama and Hari. And even the Buddhists started doing Harinam Sankirtan. They also started chanting the holy names of Krishna, and they all submitted to Mahaprabhu and they were converted. So like this, these are some astonishing pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we see Garuda's role wherever Krishna is, wherever he is performing pastimes, somehow or the other Garuda wants to participate. And that is how he wanted to participate. He was thinking, this Ram, he is calling himself an ordinary son of King Dasharath. He is not going to let me participate. He doesn't flaunt himself to be the Supreme Lord. How am I going to participate? So just for the sake of Garuda to appear on the spot, Lord Ram had to perform this Leela for the sake of his devotee. So now we just saw Garuda still appearing in the sky. We don't know what happened next. So then Garuda appeared in the sky and he landed near Ram. And the minute he saw that his 2 lords were present there, of course, as he was coming, all the Nagapashas, they started giving way. They all broke. And all the snakes died immediately, just in the presence, just with the flapping of Garuda's wings. And the minute Garuda landed and he saw that his 2 lords were fallen like that, first he pays obeisances, and then with his wings, he softly touched their faces. He caressed them very, very softly. He wiped their faces. And as he was caressing their body and their faces, all their wounds healed. This is the power of Garuda. All their wounds healed, their bodies became smooth and well rounded, their luster, valor, strength, endurance, resolution, everything were redoubled. And then Garuda, he lifted both Ram and Lakshman and he embraced them with love. And then Ramchandra embraces Garuda and he tells, "My dear Garuda," he doesn't say, "My dear Garuda." He looks at that eagle because Ram doesn't want to reveal his identity even at this point in time. So Ram says, "Oh, who are you? By meeting you, my heart feels so much happiness. The same happiness that I would feel when I see my father Dasharath or my grandfather Aja. That kind of happiness I am feeling when I'm seeing you. Ko Bhavan, who are you?" He asks. "You're so beautiful," he says, looking at Garuda, because Garuda is known as Suparna. Suparna means one with beautiful wings. So he says, "Ko Bhavan, you're so beautiful. Who are you? How come you came here? You have such a beautiful appearance. You're wearing garlands, you're wearing garments, with divine ornaments." He keeps asking Garuda, "Who are you? You're a magical creature." So he asked Garuda like that, and Garuda was standing there and he was smiling. He was thinking in his mind, "Look at my Lord. He's acting so innocent. He's asking me who I am as if he doesn't know who I am." But then Ram, he did not want to reveal openly about his glories and his supremacy, and Garuda could understand his mood. So Garuda, when he was asked like that by Lord Ram, he smiles and he says, "O Ram, I am your dearest friend and servant." Introduces himself. This is his mood. Even Rupa Goswami says, friend and servant. He says, "I am your dearest friend and servant Garuda, who's as dear as your own breath. I came here for the purpose of helping you both. These serpents, which are in the arrows, are the sons of Kadru. They are my enemies. I heard about this incident that the sons of Kadru are attacking you, and I came rushing because of the eternal love and friendship I have for you. And now you have been released by these dangerous arrows. So both of you should be careful hereafter. You're fighting with demons. And the very nature of Rakshasas is that they will not have straightforwardness. They are going to do magical warfare. So don't trust them in a battle. Be very, very vigilant and careful." Then he looks at Ram and he says, "Very soon you will win over Ravan. You will take back Sita for sure." Saying that, again embracing Ram, Garuda takes his permission to leave and he leaves. Like this Shikra Vikrama, that is one of his names, one who is very victorious and who flies very swiftly. He went swiftly flying with his beautiful Suparna wings, and he had healed Ram's wounds. He went in the presence of the Vanaras. He paid obeisances to Ram. He embraced Ram. He entered the sky in the speed of wind. Seeing Ram and Lakshman healed from their wounds, the Vanaras became very, very happy. They were lifting their tails and slashing their tails and roaring in happiness. And they were ready to face the Rakshasas again in the battle. Now, this is a very important lesson. The commentators tell us this is not just some story time. Oh, Ram fell down in the battlefield and he was saved by his devotee. That is not what we realize from this. From this, we should understand that the Lord shows us by example. He tells us that our life also, we will have so many situations where it may appear that we are losing. So here on the very first day, why should Ram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, come and fail in the battle? Right? He's showing us by example. Our life is also like this. Sometimes it may appear that in so many circumstances we are losing, but we never ever give up. We should raise from our fall. After a fall, there will be a raise. And for those who stick to dharma, who follow the right protocols, help will come from somewhere and we will be revived. So we should never give up and we should continue. The Lord showed us by example. So we will have to pause here. We are already 10 minutes late and we'll continue what happened after this in the next class. Hare Krishna. Any questions? I know today Sadhu Sangha, so very less attendance. But yeah, Suvarna Karani, correct. Yes, Parima Mataji. Suvarna Karani is to restore the complexion. Very true. Vishalya Karani, Santana Karani, Santana Karani. Suvarna
And one is Hanakarani, I think.
Hanakarani.
Yeah.
I see. Santanakarani or Hanakarani?
Hanakarani.
Okay. What does Hanakarani do, Mataji?
I don't know, Mataji.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, these four, we will also see this in the Ramayana text as well. Yeah. But yes, and when we went to Lanka, of course, we don't know if it's a claim or what, they showed us one herb, one of the four. Yeah. And the person doesn't know which one of the four it is, but it is definitely one of the healing herbs. Yeah. That was there in one particular hill. Interesting. So it had purple flowers, and it also had some different kind of green cactus like leaves. So people think that the purple flowers are the healing herb, but actually it's not the flower. It is that lower cactus like leaves that show up, which is used for healing, and they use it in Sri Lankan Ayurveda even to this day, apparently. So one of the herbs they have identified, and that's what he said. Anyway, thank you all so much. So if there are any questions, comments, realizations. Okay, so if there are no questions or comments, we will
Very
end.
nice class, Mataji. Very, very interesting. Especially the mood of Garuda and the attitude of Garuda, the service of Garuda. And I didn't know this point that, a widow or cannot basically sit on a Pushpak Viman. This is something new that I came across actually, Mataji.
Yeah, especially the pushpak. The pushpak was designed like that.
Yeah.
Yes, Mataji.
So that's a very interesting class, Madhuri. Thank you so much for again this wonderful class, and we are looking forward to hearing more from you next week, Madhuri. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Dandavat pranams, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada, yeah. We'll end here. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to all the assembled devotees. Thank you, ma'am.